Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. We got Jerel Hendricks back on the board, as always, here for our Week 7 South Carolina High School Football Preview Show. John, I hope we're through some of the weirdness now. I know we got a storm coming down to Florida this week, but not up here, so we're hoping we're on a full schedule. A lot of Friday night football games here, a couple Thursdays as always, but man, I'm excited to be back on a normal schedule with, I think, everybody who's supposed to play getting back on the field this week.
Yeah, it's great to get back in the groove, the full swing. A lot of schools have byes this week, and we did get a decision from the South Carolina High School Football League or South Carolina High School League on how the schedule will adjust a little bit. We'll cover that later in the show. But yeah, it's good to have the bad weather out of here. Good to have recovery coming. I think Greenville County schools start back class tomorrow. Spartanburg is a little bit of delayed starts, I think, in some of the Spartanburg and Cherokee County schools, but good to see everybody coming back.
Yeah, super excited to have everybody back in action this week. If you're not, on a bye, of course, but if you guys tune in for the first time, we really appreciate you. Be sure to follow us here on Facebook, on Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains. That's MOVINCHAINS. Our website, movinchains.com. Our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a weekly preview show live on Tuesday nights about 7:15 here on Facebook and YouTube. Love to have you guys join us for that. We do our recap show that comes out on Sundays on the podcast platforms. In between that, we do coach interviews, player interviews, Teams Delete, Players Delete. Lots of great content all across our social platforms. Definitely tune into all of those throughout the week and all season long. As always, get your Moving the Chains merch. We got some great shirts in store right now for you guys. I posted those earlier today on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. They're nice color, nice material there. We got black, a gray, a navy blue, a pink for the ladies as well. Lots of really good stuff. As always, we got the toboggans, the black and the gray. Get your winter gear now. The really nice Richardson hats, black, gray, whatever you want there. And of course, probably the best product we have are the hoodies, man. Super, super nice quality there. Really good stuff. A gray one and more of kind of an ash, kind of a white color as well. So definitely get those now. You can email mtcgear.sc@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on social media through a DM as well if you want to order any of that stuff. But John, let's get rolling here with our Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates games of the week, our CONA games of the week. 5 of the biggest games around the state that we're going to focus on. Then we'll go through the 5A down to the 1A and even SCISA ranks. Let's start with the fun region matchup here. And that's one thing, too, as well, John. We're pretty much all in region play now. I think we actually have to be at this point. So no more non-region contest here. But this first one is a big 2A battle, and that's Central, the upstart Eagles at 4-1, traveling to take on the Cheraw Braves, who are 3-3. Cheraw played a super tough non-region schedule, stacked up a couple losses earlier, but they're still a very good team down in that 2A classification. Central, they blanked Buford 47-0 last week. Cheraw, a 21-20 squeaker over AJ. Last year in this ballgame, John, Cheraw won 63-13. I think we're going to see something a little bit closer this year, but I think the Braves are probably a little bit better at this point.
Yeah, I think Cheraw might be the better team, but I think Central Patient's playing better football right now.
Yeah.
I like what they've done. They lost that first game of the year to Louisville, 20-0 ball game. They haven't lost since, and the offenses looked really, really good. Trey Wilson, one of our players of the week this past week, had a huge game. And Cheraw, I'm just that game last week against Andrew Jackson scared me a little bit. AJ's a decent team, but I thought Cheraw would do a little bit better there. Conway, I thought they were going to beat Conway a few weeks ago. Lost a close one there. I'm going to go with Central DePageland playing at home in this game.
They're on the road. They're on the road.
Oh, they're on the road?
Yeah.
Okay, on the road. I'm still going to go with the Eagles. I think they're just playing better football right now. Cheraw may end up having the better season. They may end up finishing better in this region this year. But I think Central DePageland's in a good spot. I think they're catching the Braves at the right time. They're playing good football, playing with a lot of confidence. I'm going to take Central DePageland in this one. I think it's going to be a really good game. Should be a very competitive ball game. Certainly don't expect to see a 63-13 score here either, but I think we'll see some points.
Yeah, Coach Easton in year one has got those guys playing great football right now. Quarterback Dwayne Lou Allen leading that offensive attack, averaging 33 on offense, giving up 16 on defense there. Running back Aiden Short. You mentioned athlete Trey Wilson had 3 catches for 162 touchdowns last week, a rush touchdown, and a punt return touchdown. They got a lot of really good skill guys for sure. Defensively, Covington, Allen, Hillian, and Davis lead that bunch. On the Cheraw side, averaging 16 on offense, 22 on defense. Like I said, played a really stacked non-region schedule. Marlboro County, Conway, River Bluff, a lot of big names there for sure. Quarterback Caden Thomas is the trigger man there, but the running back Cam McClendon, he is a stud, John. Last week, 36 carries, 224, 2 touchdowns for Cam. Huge game for him. Receiver Nick Gordon, Deshaun Drake, they're both athletes out wide there. Defensively, Javion Marshall, 7 tackles. Jaden Caraway, 4 tackles. Anthony Strong, 4 tackles as well. They held AJ to 100 yards of total offense. Like, that game was not as close as the score. The issue for Cheraw is they have not put together a full 4 quarters. I mean, that's what it comes down to, honestly. And maybe this is the week. I don't know. In that game, the Volunteers did return two kickoffs for a touchdown. That's not so close. That makes you worry a little bit about it against a team like Central with all the athletes they have there for sure. I think, John, like I mentioned, Central, a lot of really good skill guys. Cheraw, also a lot of really good skill guys. I think the difference comes down to in the trenches there. And I think Cheraw maybe a little bit deeper, a little bit bigger there up front on both sides of the football.
Should be a good game. I tell you what, the 2 kickoff, that scares me. I was going to say, how they score 20 points, but
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, certainly worrisome there. I like both these teams. Like I said, Coach Easton year one, Coach Poole been there for a long time with Cheraw. Both these teams are certainly trending upward. We had Coach Poole on in the preseason, told us that he thought that this team could be really, really special and just have not come quite together yet. But now they're region play. They got a nice region win last week. I think they build off of that and go to 2-0 region play. Jerel, comments from you or from the chat on this or from just anything in general before we move on to our next CONA game of the week?
Man, this is an intriguing matchup. I think it is. We look at Cheraw's schedule, and it's been very, very daunting so far, but they really haven't put together a total game. Didn't realize that it was 2 special team scores that made that score line so close. And then also with Central, like you mentioned, man, they've really improved this year. They've played some very good football, and they seem to have really rolled through their schedule. They stumbled out the blocks, but they've ripped off 5 in a row. So they're playing confident, playing good football. So I'm going to go with Cheraw. I really like them preseason, like talking to Coach Poole, obviously going into the year. He was really excited about his bunch. You just got to think that, maybe that they've gotten out of that non-region slate, that maybe they can get it together. Last week was kind of a fluke, and I think they can put it all together. So I'm going to go with Cheraw with the tight one. Should be a fantastic football game, and we'll take a look at some comments here.
Let's do it. Nathan says, Jerel, my line versus your Devil Dogs. Let's go. Yeah, Jerel, you and Nathan can have a little hat bet maybe this week. What are you thinking there?
No hat bet whatsoever. Let's just say maybe he'd give me 50 points or so. Then I might go with something there. Maybe we could put some money on it.
I love it. What else you got? Zach says, as of 8:15, he finally got power back. Congrats, Zach. Yeah, awesome, man. Love to see that. And, yeah, big fun game for Clinton against Chesney on Friday night to open up region play. That will be a good one. And we'll talk about it here in a minute, but these guys have been off for a long time, man. Glad to see all these teams get back on the field. Chris, good to see you. I appreciate you being here in here as always. It's hate week. Yeah, that Gaffney Burns rivalry will be a fun one to get to here in a minute for sure. That's always a big-time ball game. Zach said, God bless Jerel's Devil Dogs. Brandon says, glad to get back to football. Clinton hosting Chesney on Friday night. Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Brandon will break that one down here in a little bit as well. Kevin says, Go Gray Collegiate. They are excited to get in the region play for them too. Gray's going to beat Airport. Kevin, I think they're certainly the favorite. I think that's certainly a good chance of that. We'll bring it to that ballgame here in a little bit as well. Kyle says, thoughts on the Mullins Auctioneers traveling to Manning this week today. Auction rebound. I'm a little bit worried that Mullins, maybe that glass slipper may have kind of fallen off and shattered last week. I think Manning's a pretty good football team. I think Manning, the Monarchs, probably win that football game and send Mullins to 2 losses in a row.
It'll say a lot about Mullins, though, how they come out in that game.
Yeah, John says Dorchester Clarendon close game. I think Dorchester's playing really good football, man. I think Dorchester wins this game by a ton. Noah says the same thing to Dorchester Clarendon. I like the Raiders, man. Coach Nelson and the bunch had a huge win last week over Lee. I think they're playing good football right now for sure. Brian says Eagles for the win. Yeah, Brian, you talk about Central every week. You're a big Eagles fan, I know, and they're playing good football, man. That's going to be a great ball game on Friday night. Chris says, what's up? Good to see you, Chris, man. Great to see the Panthers getting back out this week as well. Brandon says Fairfield plays Chester Friday. Winner wins that region. Certainly could be two of the better teams in 2A, honestly, matching up right there. Robbie says, South Point. Robbie, man, great to meet you last week. Huge win for the Stallions. They are just playing great football right now, and you will see it in our poll in a little bit. They jumped up a good bit there for sure.
A complete game.
No doubt about it. Chris, good to see you. Nathan says he'll give you 50 lunch at the clock. Jerel, there's the bet, Jerel. Do you want it or not?
You got to take that.
I love it. Devil Dogs upset to the century. Jerel must have sent that, not me. I don't know.
We've been hacked.
That was definitely me. No, I'll do that. I'll do that. 50 points and lunch at the clock. Maybe we get a little running clock. Maybe we get a kick return or something like that. So yeah, Nathan, it's on. I'm in the upstate. We're close to each other. So yeah, we can make that happen.
I know Nathan comes around Greenville a little bit. He's in your area.
I love it. I love it. Well, perfect. Let's look on now at our second CONA game of the week, and that is a low country battle, John. May River at Bishop England. The Sharks, Coach Bonneville, year 2 there, sitting undefeated at 5-0 right now. A team in a region that, I want to give us props. We talked about them on our preview show. Somebody had said, those guys are trash, whatever. But Jerel, and I think Jerel and John, you guys both want to make sure we brought them up because they've got some good teams down there. And the Sharks are 5-0. Bishop England, they're 5-1. First-year head coach Logan Hall there hosting those guys. May River, a big win over Colleton County, 42-6 last week. Quarterback Tanner Macy threw for 2 touchdowns, ran for 2 touchdowns. Running back Andrew Johnson, 11 carries for $147, 2 TDs, and a receiving TD. Asa Haskins, 10 for 98, another receiving touchdown there. They ran the ball for 311 yards, John. They got it done on the ground. Defensively, Xavier Polite, 13 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 3 sacks. Ethan Sprinkle, 11 tackles. Brad Lowry, 6 tackles, 1 TFL. This Sharks team averaging 36 on offense, 12 on defense, John. We keep having them. I think they've been on our stock up a lot this year because they still kind of surprise us, but they are playing really good football. Can they continue this winning streak and move to 6-0 this week?
I think so, and this is a great game, and it's funny that we're in week 7 rather, and I feel like I don't know a ton about either one of these teams yet.
Yeah.
And we'll find out a lot more on Friday because I do think May River is a pretty good football team. Mm-hmm. But, you look through their schedule and I don't know what their best win is. Maybe it's at West Ashley. Maybe it was, drubbing Lake City earlier. But it's hard to tell. And these games, I have a hard time with these games because it's hard for me to pick. Bishop England's had a great season so far, a good start to the year. Just the one blemish against Porter-Gaud. But they've had some close games, somewhat close games. I think I'm not going to be surprised if either team wins this ball game. And I know Bishop England's got it at home. That helps a little bit. I like May River. I'm going to go with May River. I've been a believer of them all year. I'm going to stick with them and see if they can get a pretty big win here for them this Friday as well. What would be their biggest win of the year, I would say, to this point. And being in fact that it's region play, they're all so important now too.
Yeah, Bishop England, 21-7 over Hilton Head Island last week, averaging 29 on offense, 16 on defense. Quarterback Quinn Mahoney, 15 for 27, 2 touchdowns. Receivers Zachary Baylog and Nicholas Brunetti, along with Jack McCara out wide for them. Defensively led by the DBs, Robios and Kitchen, really good players there. Jerel, I know you saw them firsthand earlier this season, and Coach Hall, he's an offensive guy, but that defense has been really carrying. They play some great defense in a lot of these football games, giving up just – what did I say there? 16 points a game. They're playing super solid on that side of the football. And I think we're looking at maybe a low-scoring kind of grinded out game here between the Sharks and the Bishops. I think May River a little too much firepower on offense. I think what they're doing right now with Johnson and Macy gives them a little bit of an edge there. But this could be a fantastic football game down in the Low Country on Friday night. Jerel, any comments from you or from the chat on this one? Like I know you saw Bishop England, so let us know what you think about this program as well.
Yeah, man, Bishop England has really played well this year. I mean, they don't, have a superstar. They're not glamorous, but like you said, Coach Hall does a great job of scheming these guys up. They execute very well. Again, the defense has been just as good as the offense, so they're playing complementary football right now. So Bishop England has done well. Just the one, drubbing by Porter-Gaud. But I think This one's going to be tough. Like John said, this is a tough one to pick because these are two very good football teams. We even talked to the coaches at May River, before the season, and they talked about how excited they were for this year. I think May River is just a little bit better, but I would not be surprised if this goes either way. So it should be a fantastic football game. I wish it was a little bit closer, so we might have had to check this one out. So it should be a fantastic game. Yeah,
I got to ask, I don't know if anybody in here or not who's followed May River, but I know they've got a new offense this year. We're talking to the guys, the coaches mentioned about it. They brought it over, I think, from some guys in either Texas or Georgia. And like nobody really in this state runs the exact form of it. So something new you don't see a lot, a really run-heavy offense, of course, getting 300-plus yards last week. That's kind of what they want to lean on for sure, but should be a great ball game. Jerel, any comments from the chat on this one or for anybody else? Chris says taking May River in a squeaker. I think so, too. I'm thinking low-scoring, tight football game. David says Pageland Central's a sleeper, going to shock 2A. They are playing good football. That's one of our CONA games of the week there for a reason. Central and Cheraw, that's a major game. Wyatt says May River runs the wing T. Okay, thank you, Wyatt. Yeah, I thought it was kind of a variation of that, but, wing T certainly is something that you don't see much of, especially with the higher classifications like they are in 4A now. Definitely will be tough to scheme for. Should be a great matchup.
Used to see it all the time.
Yeah.
For sure. That's it for the comments on this one, guys.
Perfect. Our third CONA game of the week, a big-time region matchup here in the upstate, and that's Hillcrest. The Rams at 4-0, traveling to take on JL Mann. The Patriots sitting at 3-1 on the season. John, last year when these two teams played, it was two of the better ball games in the state, no matter the week. I think in the regular season, JL Mann won that matchup 42-35. They met again in the third round of the playoffs. JL Mann 21-13 in that one. So two fantastic football games there in late October and then into November as well. Both these teams have not played. It will be 21 days when they strap it up on Friday night. So definitely a bit of a readjustment period you feel like there between those two, but going to be a great matchup. Hillcrest averaging 38 on offense, 12 on defense. JL Mann 45 on offense, 18 allowed on defense there, John. Who are you looking at right off the bat? I feel like in my perspective, Hillcrest, this is their biggest test. Of course, they have not had a super, super tough, they play Clover, who's a good football team, play Greer, good football team, but have not played somebody to the level of JL Mann. JL Mann, a little bit more tested. They played Daniel, they played Gaffney. They've had some big-time matchups already in this season.
Yeah, this will certainly be Hillcrest's toughest game until they get to the playoffs. And maybe even through the playoffs. JL Mann is a really, really good football team. We saw them in person against Gaffney. Breaking in a new quarterback, and he looks like he's got all the tools there, and he's got the makeup to be a great player. It's just I think he's this close away from everything clicking and the game slowing down a little bit for him. And once it does, he's going to be a very, very good player. I think McLeod Darnell, I believe is his name. Yep. Really good player. I was very impressed with this JL Mann team. I think they're a very well-rounded team. Up front defensively, they're pretty strong. They've got tons of talent at running back as well. They're very well coached by Coach Watson there. I think JL Mann is clearly the better team in this matchup. I don't know if I would have said that going into this season because Hillcrest, they have a ton of talent on that side of the football as well. And they're going to figure it out and really get rolling. And whether it's this week or next week or down the road, who knows when, but they're a really good football team. They're going to have a good season as well. But this Patriots team, they're for real, and they're going to be a contender for the state championship. They are that good. And I think it's the silver lining for both teams in this is they're both, obviously both in the same region, both Greenville County. They've not been able to practice a ton, not been able to spend much time together, but it's going to be equal footing for both of them. I think with that also just the raw talent is going to be a big factor in this game. And I think JL Mann's got the advantage there as well. I think the Patriots win this game. I think they win by 2 scores or more.
In the Patriots' last matchup before the break there, McLeod Darnell went 20 for 26, 220 through the air, 4 touchdowns there. LaDainian Martin, a Super 75 guy, Georgia State commit, went 15 for 180 on the ground, 3 more touchdowns. Tons of playmakers outside, Nasias Morrison, Keyshawn Henderson, Dre Huff, O.J. Jones is a good change of pace back as well for them. Defensively, linebacker Wyatt Ward's a great player in the middle there. Then you got Bruton and Whitner on the back end locking things down. On the Hillcrest side, quarterback Caleb Sutton in their last game, 9 for 13, 192 touchdowns. Running backs Braden Johnson and Frank Starks. Receiver Weston Willis had a big game, 4 for 119, 2 touchdowns. John, he's averaging 128 a game and 7 touchdowns already on the season. Great start for Weston there. Defensively, Constantino, DJ Henderson, Wright, Antrez Nance. He had 4 TFLs in that last ball game. They're stacked on that side of the ball as well. This is a game that's going to have tons of big-time players everywhere, it feels like. I can't wait to see, Nance against that offensive line for JL Mann go at it. Same thing with Henderson against LaDainian Martin when they meet in the hole there. Weston Willis against Bruton and Whitner on the back end is going to be a lot of fun there. And it's just I worry about the time off. Like, I don't really know what to make of that. Like, we see teams obviously take, one bye week, not a big deal. You got 2 weeks off, and on top of that, you haven't been to practice too. Usually when you get a bye week, you're at least getting out there and practicing Monday through Thursday or whatever. These guys hadn't even seen the field in 2 weeks until I guess probably yesterday or maybe today was their first day practicing back. So I don't know if it might be sloppy. I don't know if it might be some turnovers and penalties. I'm not sure what to make of it. But this is going to be, I think, a fantastic ball game. You got 2 of the better scheming coaches, in the upstate, in the state as a whole, Coach Swiger and Coach Watson, 2 guys that can really, really draw it up and really coach it on both sides of the football. A fantastic matchup. I'm really high on Caleb Sutton and the Rams. You guys know that. I think his dual threat ability is a big factor in this ball game. Jerel, what do you like in this one? I'm not sure which way I'm picking yet, but I mean, this is going to be a fantastic matchup.
I'll pick I'm going with man. I'm with John here. I think it's going to be man by a larger margin, 14 plus. I just keep going back. I know you guys saw that man Gaffney game earlier in the year, but I saw Gaffney against Bowling Springs, and that defense completely stifled Bowling Springs. So if a man team was able to drop 40, I know it was in overtime, but they dropped 40 points on that Gaffney defense. They can pretty much get after it. And I just don't think that Hillcrest will be able to keep up. Again, I think the layoff will be an adjustment, for the first, half or so, maybe first quarter. And then I think that they'll just go back to playing ball. And I just think that Gaffney's a little bit too talented, for Man is too talented for Hillcrest to keep up in this one.
Yeah. And I think honestly, go ahead, John. Sorry.
Gaffney too, probably.
No, I was gonna, with that layoff and with it taking an adjustment period, I think we may see low scoring compared to what we would think going into this game. I think, if you look at this matchup with all these athletes, you're thinking, hey, we're probably seeing 30s, 40s in this game. But with the fact that they've had so much time off, I think that first quarter and a half could be a lot of punt city early on. So could be a little more low scoring than normal. I'm going to take the Rams in an upset. I think Coach Swiger and Caleb Sutton are ready to kind of break out. Sutton, the transfer in last year, had a solid year, but obviously all the attention was on Avery McFadden, as it should have been, of course. Had a great game. I think Caleb's ready to kind of show what he can really do. I think this is a breakout game for him. I think the Rams win this one in a close one, but this is going to be a great matchup, a great Greenville County game. We don't get to see a whole lot of those anymore, so excited to see 2 really good Greenville County teams get after it on Friday night. Jerel, comments from the chat on this Rams and Patriots matchup. Chris said a barn burner, man wins in a shootout, possibly gets the ball out. Certainly could be, man. I think both the teams are that good. I think they're certainly both going to be contenders in their separate 5A classes, and you'll see that in our poll here in a little bit. Chris says Greenwood and Hannon and everything as well. Yeah, I'm high on Hannon. I think Hannon's a good team. Greenwood I'm not quite sold on yet, but I do think Hannon is very good, and Greenwood has some potential as well. Brandon says, yeah, man, huge win over Daniel non-region. Yes, that was a big win for them, Brandon. Exactly right. Nathan says, man.
Yeah, I think Greenwood's a decent team too. I think they're gonna shake things up in this region.
Yeah, Terrence says Hampton County. What's up, guys? Good to see you guys in here as always. Appreciate you. David says Louisville missed the last 2 shows coaching Little Lions. I love it. Adrian, Jerel and I made it to the second half last Friday. Missed you out there, man. We'd love to talk to you, but nice win for the Lions. I know it wasn't their cleanest game, but they still had a nice win. Christian Henderson says Hillcrest pulled it out 2074. Yeah, Cheraw on the back end too. I can't wait to see him matching up against some of those guys, Henderson and Morrison and whatnot for man. So it should be a fantastic matchup. Pirelli says Rams dominate. I bet. I love getting some conflicting opinions there. I love that, man. It's gonna be a fun matchup, and I can't wait to see these 2 guys square off on Friday. And one thing too I want to mention, we've seen some of these Greenville County games getting moved to Saturday. I don't think this one is going to do that, but for other Greenville County matchups, you might get some Saturday football too if you want it.
Yeah, and I don't want to go against Christian. The last time I did that, I was eating a hat, so I don't know. Maybe he's got
off, Jerel.
He's got some better info than me.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking, kind of more in the 20s, maybe than what you might expect because of the layoff there. But on to our fourth CONA game of the week, a 5A matchup in the Midlands. River Bluff at 6-0. The Gators, the River Bluff Gators continue to roll at Irmo. The Yellow Jackets also 6-0. Both teams are just, they're doing it different ways. Like I feel like Irmo is just blowing everybody out. They played some big non-region games, continue to win. River Bluff, not quite as tough a non-region. Played a few squeakers here and there, including last week. But they also just keep putting up victories, John. Last week they beat White Knoll 24-21 in overtime. Irmo 34-8 over a good Lexington team. Last year, this game was 42-0 for the Yellow Jackets, John. River Bluff cannot be happy about that. They're going to want to try to, build off of that, I would hope, for sure. But who do you like between the Gators and the Yellow Jackets?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a much closer game than that. Irmo is certainly the more talented team in this matchup. I think they're the better team. They're at home. But what makes this a very interesting game for me is we've seen River Bluff play before. They're a very well-coached team. They're a very disciplined team. I don't think they're going to beat themselves. Irmo's got to go out and make the plays. The athletes got to be athletes. Donovan Murphy's got to do what he can do. AJ Brand's got to have a good game. He's got to be that guy. He's got to make plays. They can't just walk out there and just win the game just because of who they are. They got to make some plays and win this ball game. And for River Bluff, I would have picked White Knoll to beat them. And they come out on top. I think I might have picked Gilbert to beat them. They come out on top.
Yeah.
1-point win. They had a shootout with Rock Hill in the first game of the season. They win that game.
And that win's looking better and better as well. Rock Hill is playing good football right now.
They're finding ways to win games and win close games. They had another close game against Nation Ford. They won on the road, 35-30. The fact that they know how to win, and I get Irmo 6-0, yeah, but they haven't had the close games. They've had one close game with Burns, which scares me a little bit. That was early in the season. But River Bluff, they might not be as good, but if this is a tight game in the fourth quarter, those guys are going to feel a lot of confidence that they can pull it out and they can win the game. And that is, I think for Irmo, I think the key to the game, and I know this sounds silly, but jump on them as quick as you can, because the longer you let this River Bluff team hang around, not only are they going to feel like, oh yeah, we can win, it's close. It's, oh, we win close games. We do this. We've done it week after week after week. And that could be a dangerous situation for the Yellow Jackets if it's a tight game in the fourth quarter. All that said, if Irmo plays their game, they should win. I think they should win this by 2 scores. But the way the River Buffs played, I don't know if they're going to let that happen. I'm still going to go with Irmo, but I could see this being a surprisingly close game.
River Bluff averaging 34 on offense, 20 on defense. There is a concern a little bit for the injury front for these guys. Quarterback Parker Murray played for 3 or 4 years now. Starter had to leave the game last week. Sophomore quarterback Braden Moore stepped in. Running back Hayden Myers went 12 for 187. Receiver Stephen Collier, the ECU commit Super 75 guy there. Aaron Griffin, DB receiver, is a good player as well for them. The defense forced 3 picks last week, and that's against a good quarterback in Landon Sharp. So that's really impressive there. Griffin had 1, Nathan Schumann had 1, and Caleb Pinckney as well. Griffin Lindler led them with 8 tackles, 2 TFLs, a sack, and a PBU. There. Coach Harden's bunch playing good football. Irmo, 39 on offense, 16 on defense. AJ Brand, the VT commit, Super 75 player, 145 passing and a touchdown, 125 rushing and a touchdown. Running back Amari White, 116 and a touchdown. Receiver Donovan Murph, just reclassified to a 2025. He's a big-time prospect. He had a big game, I think 80-plus and a TD as well. Offensive lineman Nate Carson leads that bunch up front. Defensively, Jaden Bryant, 9 tackles, 4 TFLs. Darius Goodson, 9 tackles, and Ethan Gamble and Jamar Grissett with 7 tackles each. I think Irmo is just too big and physical. They've got the playmakers outside. John, I know 42-0 last year was a beatdown, And I think we might see something similar. I think Irmo is that good, man. I think they are really tough, really, really tough. You know, I mean, that Lexington team was super physical, super physical. You didn't have the offensive firepower to score with Irmo. I mean, they get beat by 26. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily that close either. I think they just kind of slowly lean on you, slowly choke you out, and then they also got the big playability with Brandon, Murph, and White and those guys. So I think the Yellow Jackets playing too good of football. I think they're a legit state title contender. I think Irmo big in this matchup of River Bluff. River Bluff's playing good football, man. Don't get me wrong. I'm super happy with what Coach Harden's doing there. They are on the trend upwards for sure. But I think Irmo and the Yellow Jackets with Coach Brand, man, that is too much firepower. I think they roll in this ball game. Jerel, comments from you or the chat on this one?
Yeah, I think the formula here for River Bluff is to kind of like muck it up a little bit. You know, they got to force some turnovers, like you mentioned, 3 picks last week. And we've seen Irmo kind of get off to some slow starts in these games. I mean, they haven't really like come out, you know, firing on all cylinders. Now, I'm saying this and they're going to do it this week. But I think that's a formula for success for River Bluff. Like if they can just kind of stay with, I wouldn't be surprised if this game's close at halftime and then Irmo kind of just opens it up in that second half, because there is a talent disparity. I mean, you just have to recognize that with these two teams. I think Irmo's legitimately a state title contender, and I think River Bluff's just a very, very good football team. You know, so I think that's the difference in the game. Obviously, the playmakers, you know, for Irmo are going to be the difference. And then that is a concern with Parker Murray not being able to play. But it should be fun to see. I think it's 2 good football games and, you know, are 2 good football teams and a good region matchup there.
And Parker may be back. We don't know for sure if he's going to be here or not. I have not heard one way or the other. But any comments from the chat on that matchup, Jerel? Irmo winning from CHS1. I think we're all on that point. MJSC says Irmo smokes them. Yeah, I think we're kind of all on that boat right now. Zach says Irmo not even close by halftime. Let's see. Brandon says Irmo in this one, they are very good. Yes, they certainly are, Brandon. They are definitely top 5 in our poll. Irmo dominating this year. They got to be stopped. Yeah, I don't know who's going to stop him, bro. I don't think it's River Bluff, but somebody else might. I don't know.
But yeah, that's the comments we got here for this one.
Perfect. Our 5th CONA game of the week, our SCISA game of the week, a big-time one here, Jerel. Porter-Gaud, the Cyclones at 6-1, traveling to take on Northwood at 7-0 in our SCISA game of the week. Porter-Gaud, 44-0 over Heathwood Hall 2 weeks ago, had a bye last week. Actually, they started that game, got canceled. It's been lipping due to the weather there. Averaging 40 on offense, 19 on defense. Northwood, 49-31 over Cardinal Newman, 38 on offense, 12 on defense. The Cyclones of Porter-Gaud, running back Jamal J.J. Flood, 7 for 119 and a touchdown. Quarterback Nolan Schumann, 2 pass touchdowns, also rushed for 73 yards. Running back Tony Brown, 8 for 167 and 2 TDs. Receiver Garrett Hyatt is a playmaker out wide. Defensively, Chase Anderson, 8 tackles. Also Smith, 9 tackles. And Knapp, Chisholm, and Buxton as well. Northwood, that game was 49-31, Jerel, was not that close. They were up 42-3 after 3 quarters. Let Cardinal Newman get some garbage time TDs there. Running back Keyshawn Singleton, 21 for 171 and a touchdown. Quarterback Austin Grady, 18 for 22, 269, 2 touchdowns. Receivers Ty Washington and Aiden Hogan both had 6 catches. Defensively, Vickers, Lingard, McCleary, and then MJ Davis on the back end is a big-time DB prospect. Had a pick 6 last week for Coach Waters' bunch. There are 2 really good running backs in this game with Flood and Singleton. I'm super excited for that matchup there. This is a game where Porter-Gaud, you know, guys, has been playing great football. They had the nice win over Bishop England a few weeks back. Northwood is kind of the hot team right now. You know, they're supposed to play Hammond 2 weeks ago. Had to get canceled due to the weather there. That'll get played here in a few weeks. So we don't really know what to make of them. But that's a big win over Cardinal Newman last week. But I think Porter-Gaud, man, what they're doing with J.J. Flood and just pounding the rock, that's a different type of football team they're going to be playing this week for sure.
I like Porter-Gaud too. I think 2 really great teams, really good teams. I just don't know how to see Porter-Gaud losing another game in the regular season. I think they're that good.
Yeah, certainly could see a Porter-Gaud Hammond rematch for the state title if things hold there. But I think the Cyclones are playing great. But that'll be a fun ball game. You know, if Northwood somehow does win this one, that Northwood Hammond game becomes even bigger here in a few weeks. Excuse me. But that'll be a great one down there in the Low Country. Jerel, any comments from you or from the chat before we go back through our CONA games of the week and then move on to the next portion of the program?
Yeah, it should be fun one. Like you said, if Northwood wins, it's going to be great. But I think Porter-Gaud's just too good. I mean, they've played Hammond, and they're the only ones really to be in the same stratosphere with Hammond as far as the score line's concerned. So that's just a testament because we think Hammond. I mean, Hammond, regardless of what association they're in, I think Hammond is one of the best teams in the state, and I think they only lost to those guys by 14, 15 points. So no moral victories, but I think that just shows how good this Porter-Gaud team is. So I'm riding with them this week.
Perfect. So once again, guys, our CONA games of the week, we had Central at Cheraw, May River at Bishop England, Hillcrest at JL Mann, River Bluff at Irmo, and then Porter-Gaud at Northwood. If you missed any of those, you can go back and check them out when the show's over. They'll be here. You can rewind it and go watch it on Facebook and YouTube. So definitely, certainly do that if you missed any of those ball games. Jerel, let's give a quick shout out to some friends of the program before we look down at the rest of the statewide slate.
A single moment can ignite a passion. With every play, a spirit of teamwork is forged, and determination evolves into success. Life is the ultimate team sport, and a trusted teammate makes all the difference. Our team at Founders Federal Credit Union works hard every day to offer the financial tools you need, backed by unrivaled member service. Relax, you're with Founders.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. John, let's start looking down through the 5A slate. Viewers, as always, if you guys want to comment about a game, feel free to pop it in there. We'll definitely read it on the stream. But, John, let's look at the 5A matchups this week.
Yeah, in the Low Country, we'll see Goose Creek go to Berkeley. West Florence will be at Blythewood.
Two teams, that might be for second place in that region. I think, I think Sumter is clearly the best team it looks like now. They've had a couple really nice wins, like, hammered West Florence last week. Blythewood, just that one blemish there against Westwood. West Florence, I still think is pretty good, but I'm not sure how good they are now. Two defensive-minded teams, but that'll be a fun game down there in the Midlands.
I think West Florence is going to win that by a close one, but I think Blythewood's a really good team as well. We're probably looking at 2 and 3 in this region. Big rivalry game, of course. The game will be at the reservation. Gaffney against Burns. Burns has got enough talent to make this a game, but Gaffney should certainly win it.
Burns, Chris says Berkeley for the win there. Burns coming off a couple nice wins. Had not played good football. Started off, I think, 0-3, something like that. Came back to beat Wade Hampton, and they come back and they beat Dorman. And another key, too, don't forget, Gaffney quarterback Javon Gilmore is out for the first half of this football game. Burns, Coach Shaw, what they're doing there, kind of a couple quarterbacks now with Landrum and and Rogers, I believe, is the other kid right now. They've got some talent. Do they have enough to beat Gaffney right now? I'm not sure. I think the Indians team is very, very talented. Even without Javon Gilmore for a half, you probably put Jamarcus Smith back there. You just run a lot of wildcat, kind of lean on them and whatnot, and kind of, just keep it close, and then let Javon kind of do his thing in the second half. I think the Indians too talented right now. Defense is lights out. I think the Indians win this matchup. Gaffney by 99. I don't know about 99, Chris, but I do like the Indians here.
I think we're going to see a relatively low-scoring game. We'll see Spartanburg go to Dorman, another good rivalry game there.
The city rivalry, Dorman, a team that I was very surprised lost to Burns, I guess 2 weeks ago before the Hurricane came to play that Wednesday night. That was a shocker to me. That just couldn't get anything going on offense. And that seems similar to what the issue with Spartanburg is, where they can't get anything going on offense either. So could be a very low-scoring game here between these two. I think Spartanburg a little bit more offensive firepower right now than Dorman does. So I think Coach Hodges Bunch gets a win, but that's always a great rivalry matchup between those two.
Yeah, that's going to be a tight game there. We'll see Lexington at Chapin.
Two opposite teams. A team wants to throw it around a ton with Chapin. A team with Lexington wants to play hard-nosed defense and run it a lot. That is going to be a heck of a matchup. I think Chapin, I think their offense wins this ball game for them, but that's going to be a fun matchup with two really contrasting styles there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about that one. I'm leaning Lexington, but we'll see. Good game here in the Midlands as well. White Knoll at Dutch Fork. Remember, White Knoll did knock out win against Dutch Fork in the regular season. I
Yeah.
want to be careful about saying knocked out because obviously Dutch Fork did not get knocked out of the playoffs. But this is a game, should be a decent ball game here. I think Dutch Fork is a better team as well, or better team in this game. I think they do win, but White, they know they can do it. They know they can knock them off if they play a great game. We'll see Malden go to Easley. Riverside will be at Eastside.
Two sneaky 3-1 teams right now between those two, Riverside and Eastside. I know it's a rivalry there. I'm not sure there's a name for it or not, but that's a sneaky football game. I think Riverside, too much offense, I think, right now with Skinner and Murhib there and Taylor and those guys. I like what they're doing for Coach Rochester.
Then we'll see West Ashley go to Fort Dorchester. Northwestern is on the road against Fort Mill. Greenwood will go to Greenville.
I believe that is a Saturday noon matchup now, I think I've seen. Okay,
very cool. Catawba Ridge will be at Indian Land.
It's a sneaky good game for me there. Catawba Ridge has been kind of laying in the weeds. They played some pretty good football. I love the tight end there, the Ambrose kid. Indian Land, Sequel Patterson, the quarterback, is a heck of an athlete, getting tons of offers already. He's just a sophomore. That'll be a fun matchup over there in the Rock Hill area.
Then we'll see one of our CONA games of the week, River Bluff at Irmo, that we talked about a little bit earlier. Somerville will be at James Island. James Island taking a little bit of a step back this year. Somerville should be able to win this game. James Island still got a tough defense. Somerville's got to come to play. Another one of our CONA games of the week over at Slayton Field be Hillcrest at JL Mann. We'll see Socastee go to North Myrtle Beach. Lugoff Elgin travels to Ridgeview. Nation Ford will go to Rock Hill. Carolina Forest is at St. James. Ashley Ridge goes to RB Stall. Lucy Beckham is at Stratford. Boylan Springs going to Wade Hampton. Wanda will host Cane Bay. Westwood at home against Spring Valley. Woodmont hosting TL Hanna. And our HTC game of the week this week, we will see Conway going to Myrtle Beach.
Yes, playing for the victory bell in our HTC Hometown Connection game of the week. Conway, a tough loss to North Myrtle Beach, 24-14 last week. Myrtle Beach, 37-14 over St. James. The Tigers are struggling, man. They're 1-5 on the season, averaging 16 on offense, 29 on defense. They got a sophomore quarterback, Noah Legg, had 2 touchdown passes last week. I think he will be good, just hasn't quite developed all the way yet for them. Receiver Javon Smalls, Jaquan Brantley, both had touchdowns for them last week. Running back Jordan Taylor is a good player as well. Myrtle Beach at 3-3 under Coach Wilson, averaging 26 on offense, 23 on defense. Played at a tough non-region schedule as well. They played that Irmo team we talked about earlier for one of their matchups. Quarterback Gibson Goodrow. Running backs Michael Cohen. He went 18 for 113, 2 touchdowns. And then Antonio Brown went 42 yards for 2 more touchdowns. They got the run game going right now, guys. They got wide receiver John Simmons out wide as a option too. He's a big, tall guy, can go and get it when they need to for them. But I think this game, it's a fun rivalry game. Last year Myrtle Beach won 51-14. I think we could see something similar again, man. This Seahawks team, I think, is a lot better than Conway right now. Coach Wilson always does a fantastic job. I love what they have. They've got they two-headed monster at running back, but they've also got a solid quarterback as well. So I think that gives them a lot of different ways to beat you, playing for the victory bell here on Friday. And I think the Myrtle Beach gets this win in our HTC Hometown Connection game. John, Jerel, any thoughts on this one before we move on?
I agree with you, Kevin. The thing about Myrtle Beach, too, we seem to see it every year. They just get better and better and better as the year goes by. At the end of the season, they look like a totally different team than they did in week 0, week 1. They're continuing to get better, and I think they'll continue on that upward trajectory here this week too.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I think Myrtle Beach wins this game. I just think Conway, they're just not clicking right now. I still can't get over that heartbreaking loss they had a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that's got to be tough to get over. Just seems like maybe things just aren't going their way this year, but I like Myrtle Beach in this one.
Yeah, I do want to mention linebacker Ashton Keith at Myrtle Beach, a really good player too. I want to make sure I shout out. He is a good guy there. The battle of the victory bell is always a fun one. I don't know if you guys saw it too. There was I think the local Bojangles did kind of a biscuit making competition between the two coaches today too, between Coach Pierce and Coach Wilson. So that was a lot of fun. I saw some highlights of that on the news earlier down there. So definitely check that out as they kind of both got into the action. But I think we all like Myrtle Beach in our HTC Hometown Connection game of the week. HTC This Is Life, connect with it. Once again, each week we'll do a game from either Horry, Georgetown, or Marion County as our HTC Hometown Connection game of the week. Jerel, any more comments from you or from the chat on 5A or just on that HTC game before we look down to the 4A slate?
Let's head to 4A.
Perfect.
Yeah, looking at 4A, I got 4A and Flora mixed up here. Richland Northeast will play at AC Flora. Cavaliers trying to get off the mat and bounce back against AC Flora this week.
Yeah, R&E, took a surprise loss last week to Dreer in overtime. Quarterback Will Wilson, NC State commit, did not play, did not know that until Friday. Actually got his knee scoped on Friday. He's out for a couple weeks. He's out again this week as well. AC Flora kind of flying under the radar. I think they're 4-2, 5-2, something like that. Have not played the toughest competition, I feel like, but they keep winning. I think R&E needs this win bad, man. You can't lose 2 in a row in region play, even without your quarterback. I think the Cavs have to bounce back.
I don't know what they do without Will Wilson. I think AC Flora is a better group than Dreer. And if they play well, continue to improve. And Chris, I would say that too if Will Wilson was playing. But last week, losing to Dreer really scares me because Dreer they're not a very good team. Defensively, they're okay. But, that really scares me for Richland Northeast that they don't have Wilson on this one. Staying in the Midlands, we'll see Aiken go to Brooklyn Casey. Colleton County will host Beaufort. Crestwood at home against Hartsville. We talked about this a little bit. Travelers Rest going to Daniel. Jerel and Nathan have I think it's a clock wager on the line. Vegas is set the line at 50. If Jerel can come through there.
Can't wait to get my lunch. It's going to be fantastic. Go Devil Dogs.
West Side will be at Emerald.
Man,
yeah,
those are 2 good games there, or maybe not good games. I want to talk about West Side and Emerald. I think West Side, I think they smoke them. Oh, man, I feel bad for Emerald this week. I was really looking forward to that West Side Weddington game 2 weeks ago. Got canceled there, and and it's not going to happen. But West Side playing great football there. Wren and Fountain Inn is, I think, a sneaky good football game. A Fountain Inn team, still an upstart program. Just first year having seniors there, like the quarterback Sam Holiday a lot. He's a really good player there for Coach Nichols' bunch. Wren, we saw them firsthand a few weeks back. Really good rushing attack with Colton Bagwell, Reese Price there. Defensively, they're stout as well. I think Wren wins this game, but that could be a super fun game. Still, also, thoughts and prayers to Isaac Wigginton, the kid that was in the car wreck there from the Wren community. He is still in the hospital. Definitely want to keep thinking about him throughout this tough time. But I think Wren wins it, but should be a fun, close game over there in Fountain Inn.
Yeah, Bradley, West Side's team to beat in 4A right now, that's for sure. Ooh, Daniel by 60. That's Jerel's buying lunch. If that's the case. We'll see Midland Valley on the road against Gilbert. Gray will host Airport. Greer at home against Blue Ridge. South Florence will travel to Lakewood. Dreer is at Lancaster. Lawrence hosting Southside. Lower Richland at home against Wilson. One of our CONA games of the week we talked about a little bit earlier. Bishop England at May River. That will be a really good ball game there in the Low Country. South Aiken will be at North Augusta. Seneca hosts Berea, and York will host the red-hot South Point Stallions.
Yes, those Stallions, I saw them for a half last week. That's all I could take, man. They were just hammering Camden. It was super impressive. Looked really good on both sides of the football. Really good running the ball, really good throwing the ball with Cam McMillan back there. Quarterback Mason Hicks, of course, running it was really, really nice. That Stallions team, I think they are the real deal. I was worried about the offense. That's been that's kind of what I've been saying all season long is that, hey, they got to get Cam McMillan back. He's got to play. They got to be able to sling it around. He's back. He looked good. And I think South Point, they are a legit contender.
Yeah, buy stock in South Point right now. I mean, these guys looked fantastic. I think Camden's not what we're used to with Camden, but that South Point team is complete. Like I said, I mentioned it on the Spaces in our recap show. The only bad thing I saw is they rolled a couple snaps when they were kicking extra points, but they kicked so many that it didn't matter. So the Stallions are legit.
I tell you, and Camden's not. They might be a step behind what they've been the last couple of years, but that defense is still really good. And to put up 64, not even the fact that they put up 64, they put up what 57 or 50 in the first half.
57 in the first half. Yeah,
I mean that is. You could have said, "Hey, can't even play anybody in the state." I go, "They can play anybody in the state. They're not gonna give up 57. Probably not gonna give up 57 in a game, much less one half." That South Point did that. That's scary. That's scary for the rest of 4A. We talk about West Side being the class of 4A. Well, I tell you what, if South Point plays that kind of game, they continue to do that, they're going to be very tough to beat no matter who you are.
Yeah, Jerel, any other comments on 4A from the chat?
Let's roll to 3, guys.
Perfect. Looking at 3A now, John.
We got a short slate in 3A this week. We'll see Union going to Broome.
This game, I believe, is actually at Spartanburg High School. I want to say there was some kind of issue at Broome's Field with something fell or power line. I don't know. They're playing at Spartanburg, I think.
Something with the lights, I think.
Okay, I know. I've got a friend in Cowpens, and they still don't have power over in Cowpens. So that could be the issue there. I believe that. We'll see St. Joseph's go to Carolina. Mountain View is at Chapman.
Man, Chapman. I've been surprised by Chapman. I thought we talked about on the season preview show that they lost a lot of pieces, but you think Chapman, they'd still be decent. They have not been good so far, man. And MVP there for Coach Ramsey, they're playing great football, man. They are lighting it up on offense with McGill and Drummond and Hainsworth and those guys. Defensively playing good as well. I keep waiting on them to have like a close game or have a real big test, and they just haven't had it. I don't think it's this week either. I think they roll Chapman again.
Yeah, the only thing that I think could give me a little bit of pause is the games at Chapman. Great environment for a football game. If you ever get a chance to go to Chapman for a game, go. Awesome facility, awesome fan support. It's a really cool place to go for a game. Good home field atmosphere there. But yeah, I agree. I think Mountain View just got too much talent in this game, and they should certainly win big. We'll see Powdersville. They'll go to Christ Church.
That's a big region game there. That region 2, 3A, it's Carolina, Christchurch, Palmetto, Powdersville, Southside Christian, St. Joe's. I don't really know going into region play who the favorite is there. I feel like Powdersville started off slow, a couple of really tough losses, 1-point loss here, a late turnover here, whatever. They've got a couple nice wins here lately for Coach Muster. Christchurch obviously started off tough as well. They lost Jackson Rep for the season, which is big for them, as a huge loss, one of the premier receivers in the state. I think they're a very good team still. I don't know, Southside Christian, St. Joe's, which one of them could be better. I think they're both fairly even. So I think this could be the region title. Honestly, it certainly could be between these two these two teams here. Tucker Hendricks slinging the rock for the Cavs there. The new quarterback, Kagan Reed, I believe is his name there for Powdersville. They've gotten it going on the ground, which is big for them. I think they were trying to throw it and put a little bit too much on him early on in the season, but they got the running game going now with Hudgens and that group there. Hudgens and Knuckles and Mills on defense, all those guys. I think Powdersville, they're trending upwards for sure. This would be a great matchup between those guys and Christchurch.
Yeah, and I think that region's up for grabs no matter what happens in this game Friday. I think anyone really could win this region. It'll be a fun region to watch. As we move on, we've got West Oak going to Crescent. A big game in that monster region down in the PD. Dillon hosting Ainer. Dillon trying to bounce back after that huge loss. Not a huge loss, it was just a huge game against Loris last week. Awesome ball game there.
Yeah, both teams took tough losses. Ainer got hammered by Marlboro County. Yeah. You mentioned Dillon losing the close one to Loris. This game could be for a home playoff game, already, because you got to think that with Loris already having a leg up on Dillon, they're probably going to be ahead of the standings. And then when they finalize, we think Marlboro County is that good as well. This could be for the 3rd seed. We'll see. Obviously, Dillon is not going to go quietly, and they're going to play tough against Marlboro County for sure. But this could be a really, really big game for seeding there. Ainer, I was surprised, how that game went last week against Marlboro County. I thought it would be a closer, lower scoring game. But, man, the Bulldogs just, blew the doors off those guys there. Dillon, they need a bounce back, John. You saw them firsthand. I feel like they're maybe not quite as big on the lines as usual, it feels like, from the guys I've talked to, which could be a factor against the Ainer team that wants to run the ball a lot. But I think Hamilton and Fling, Zay Robertson, a few too many big plays. I think they win this matchup on Friday.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Dillon is, while they may not have the size that they normally do, they still have the speed. They've got the speed. They got the athletic ability. They're still the nasty cat defense.
Yeah.
It's still there. The thing for Dillon is you got to protect the football a little bit better. They turned the ball over twice last Friday, and just in bad situations, big-time momentum shifters. Turnovers typically are, but the ones that Dylan had last week were just really at bad times and fumbling a kickoff, and they fumbled more kickoffs than they fielded cleanly. You gotta shore up some of the little details. If Dylan can do that, they're going to be really good. But if they don't do it Friday, that could cause some big time issues and make this a really, really close ball game with Ainer. I expect a good game either way, though. I think this will be a good game. I like the Wildcats to come out on top, though.
Yeah. Staying
within that region, the Marlboro County Bulldogs will go to Georgetown. They should win that game easily there.
I think the line's minus 35.5, I think, John.
I'll take Marlboro County. Silver Bluff will go to Keenan, a Keenan team that's pretty tough.
They are. Took a tough loss to Swansea on Saturday. Silver Bluff still has not won a football game yet this season, which, is crazy to say. And they're, in that CSRA area that's been affected so bad by the hurricane, where they probably have not practiced much either, while Keenan has been playing football. Going to be tough for the Bulldogs on Friday night.
Yeah, for sure. Fox Creek will go to Newberry. Oceanside is going to host North Charleston.
Oceanside, nice win over Hanahan last week. We talked about it. They finally got into region play and stopped having to play some of these big out of region contests. And they looked really good with that group there with Monavian and Virgilio slinging it around on last Friday against Hanahan.
Speaking of Hanahan, they will be on the road this week against a very good Orangeburg-Wilkinson team, relatively untested OW squad, but they are a good team. This will be a big region game here if the Bears can pull this one out.
Yeah, and I'll say OW, I was, high on them a few weeks back. They gave me a lot of pause last week. You lose to HKT, a game that's scheduled late, for your homecoming as well. HKT is a good 1A team, but they're a 1A team at the same point there. I think Hanahan wins this matchup.
Okay. I would not be surprised either. Bouncing up to the upstate, we'll see Pendleton hosting Walhalla, Southside Christian hosting Palmetto, and then Loris will be on the road against Waccamaw to wrap up 3A.
Both those games are Palmetto and Southside Christian. I think it's a sneaky game. I think Palmetto is a little better than we think. I think Coach Norton's doing a good job with that program. Southside Christian has not been super dominant this year, I wouldn't say. Had a ton of turnovers against Salute, I think, in their last matchup there. Palmetto could sneak up on them. We'll have to watch this game closely. And Loris, coming off that huge win last week, the next step now is, can you back it up with another good win and not have a dismal performance? I think they put the hammer down on Waccamaw. Love Coach Mance's bunch. Great win for the Lions last week. They need another big win here this week.
Yeah, they are for real. If you haven't circled it, Kevin, I know you have. You were the first one to do it. If you haven't circled this Loris squad, you better do it, because they're a hard-hitting group. They're fast. They're talented. They are a really fun team to watch.
Yeah, Jerel, any comments from you on 3A or from the chat? Nathan said Camden's schedule finally caught up to them. Yeah, something certainly did, man. Now, they've had a lot of injuries as well, but that was a whooping on Friday night. Gregory says Marlboro County playing football. They have been. They're playing super good, man. They've been slowly climbing up our poll. We'll get to here in a little bit. Playing really good for Coach Johnson. Anthony says Marlboro County easily went over Georgetown 6-0, first time since 2009.
That's
really
hard
good
to believe.
See there. Really good to see there for that Bulldogs program.
That is it for the comments, guys.
Perfect. Looking down at 2A now, John.
Strom Thurmond back on the football field. They'll travel to American Leadership Friday. Andrews will host Woodland in a pretty sneaky good game here as well.
I believe both those teams, I think, are 4-1 or 5-1. I think they both lost one matchup, and that's it. I like this Andrews team a lot for Coach Durham. I think what they're doing there with the quarterback, Brandon Cumbie, is a great player. AJ, I was going to say Johnson, but I don't think that says his name right now. The running back is a good player as well, and I'll try to find it here in a minute for you. But Andrews is a good program. They run that kind of tough offense to prepare for. AJ Lee, excuse me. I like what they do for Coach Durham. Woodland for Coach Ford. A surprising – they kind of up and down. They beat a good Bamberg team. They lose to Bishop England. I don't really know what to make of them quite yet. I think Andrews wins this game at home.
We'll see Lake City go to Atlantic Collegiate. Batesburg-Leesville at home against 96. Landrum will go to Blacksburg. We talked about one of our CONA games of the week here. Cheraw hosting Central of Pageland. A very improved Eagles team. I think this will be a close game. I know you guys picked Cheraw. I'm taking the Eagles. We talked about that one a little bit earlier in the program. So if you're watching this later on, rewind and go back to see that game. Andrew Jackson on the road to Chesterfield.
The Rams, a surprising loss to North Central last week. I think Chesterfield was undefeated coming into that. Did not see that loss coming. AJ has had a hard time this year. They can't quite get it going. It feels like if they want to, host some home playoff games, they got to turn it around fast.
Well, I don't know who you're talking about there, but if AJ wants to get into the playoffs, they've got to turn it around as well. They got to find a way to win some games. As we move down the schedule here, Chesney will be at Clinton. King Street will go to East Clarendon. Mid-Carolina is on the road against Eau Claire. Fairfield Central hosting Chester. I thought this would be a really big-time, close game earlier in the year. I don't know what's going on with the Cyclones, but they're not playing as well as I thought they would be, and the Griffins certainly are. Yeah.
Fairfield Central led by Tadarian Greer. He's playing great football. A Shrine Bowler that came out this week. He is, a super, super good athlete there for Coach Davis's bunch. In Chester, like you said, John, I don't know what to make of them. Obviously, people were really high on them coming into the year. One of the 2A favorites. You lose quarterback Trooper Floyd game 1. He goes out with an injury. Maybe it was game 2. I'm pretty sure it was game 1. Anyway, comes back a couple weeks later, looks great, and then turn around and lose to Keenan in a not really competitive ball game. So Chester is kind of hard to figure out right now. I think what they're doing at Fairfield Central is something that we got to watch out for, man. They are a team that we did not talk a lot about early in the year in 2A. They are a sleeper now. I feel like Greer is a superstar for them. They are trending upwards. I like the Griffins to win this game because Chester, I just don't know, man. There's too many unknowns right now for those guys, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. Hampton County, a team that does not have a lot of questions. They will be at home against Lake Marion. Very good Hampton County squad there. Mullins on the road against Manning. We talked about this one a little bit earlier. This would be a really good bounce back for Mullins if they come out and win this game. Certainly will be tough against Manning, though, on the road. Saluda, they will head over to Pelion this weekend. Philip Simmons at home against Burke. Academic Magnet goes to Timberland. And Whale Branch will host Edisto.
Perfect. Any comments from you, Jerel, or from the chat on 2A?
No, guys. No comments here.
Perfect. Well, let's do a quick shout out to the friends of the program. Then we'll get back into 1A and SCISA. We'll go that route this week.
At HTC, we're here to keep you connected. Here to provide reliable fiber optic internet with free, fast, and secure HTC Smart Wi-Fi. HTC, here to connect.
With 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville, Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, CONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. Go to kona.care to learn more.
Let's look looking for top-notch sports gear and uniforms? Look no further than First Team Sports. With 30 years of serving the Carolinas, First Team Sports is your local full-service dealer. From youth teams to colleges, we've got you covered with team uniforms, staff apparel, Letterman jackets, sports equipment, and facility branding. Visit our local store in Greenville or firstteamsc.com. Make First Team your first choice. Let's look down at the 1A slate now.
Now you can go.
Man, I'm reading the sheet right here. I know what we got coming up, and I still just missed it. But let's go to 1A now, John.
Kevin biting on all the pump fakes here. With 1A, we'll see Richland go to Allendale Fairfax. Branchville on the road against Baptist Hill.
Branchville, another tough team to kind of figure out. They started off so hot, played well, and they get hammered by Cross. They come back and beat Bowman, of course, there. Not sure to make it in. Baptist Hill is always tough with Coach Brown down there. I think we'll learn a lot about Branchville this week in this matchup.
Yeah, I had him in my top 5, but I can't keep him there after what happened last week. I wanted to, and then I had to catch myself. We'll see Wagner Sally go to Blackville Hilda. McBee goes to C.A. Johnson.
A C.A. Johnson team that Jerel and I saw last week. They've got some good athletes, just a little bit sloppy game for them, it felt like. McBee, I think, is pretty good. So that could be a fun 1A game there.
We'll see Hunter Kinder Tyler go to Calhoun County.
Another fun one. We talked to Curtis on our spaces last week. He's seen HKT play. They're really big, really physical, can really run the rock. Don't have a great passing offense or defense. Calhoun County, not sure if they can really exploit that. They don't have a Christian Zachary out there like last year, of course. But I think HKT is a good team to look out for. I think they win this matchup.
I think they're a really good squad as well. Abbeville will go to Calhoun Falls. Carvers Bay at home against Lakeview. Denmark Olar hosting Hardyville. Lamar on the road against Great Falls. Green Sea Floyds will host Hannah Pamplico. Hemingway on the road against Latta. Lee Central will host Louisville. Lee Central team's playing some good football.
Yeah, sneaky game there. You know, Lee Central coach Danner comes from that Jeff Calabrese tree of wanting to run the ball with some crazy stuff sometimes, you know. So he'll have a good game plan for sure. I think Louisville's got to clean up some mistakes. You know, they were a little sloppy last week, dropped a couple touchdowns, had a few kind of weird plays there. I think the Lions bounced back, get a nice win over Lee Central.
We'll see Willis and Elko go to Rich Spring Minetta.
Yep, Dejan says got to get healthy and tighten up on the penalties. Yeah, exactly right, Dejan. You know, and luckily you're just getting a region play now. You got time still to do that, but I think there's a big win coming for Louisville this week.
And hey, they're good enough; they can cover some of that up too. We'll see Willis and Elko go to Rich Spring Minetta. Scotch Branch will host Cross. Big win, as we talked about Cross knocking off Branchville last week, 56-7 in that game. St. John's at home against Bethune-Bowman. McCormick will go to Ware Shoals, and Whitmire will host Dixie. I believe Dixie still undefeated.
They are. Brandon Nance, 4 touchdowns last week. Big game for him. Allie asked, who should win, Williston, Elko, and RSM? I think Williston, Elko, they're playing pretty good football right now. I believe I like them to win this game. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it for sure. I wouldn't bet on it myself. But I think WE there, Coach Lipsy, I think they win that matchup.
I agree. I like Williston Elko on that one.
Perfect. Any other comments, Jerel, on 1A?
Let's go talk about SCISA ball.
Perfect. Looking at the SCISA slate, we've got John Paul II at Hilton Head Prep, Cardinal Newman at Lawrence Manning, 2-2-4 teams. You never would have thought that going into the season there. Lawrence Manning, a tough week for them last week. Their head coach resigns after everything that happened this offseason. Tough year for the Swamp Cats. You got Thomas Hayward going to Andrew Jackson. Spartanburg Christian going to Towns County. Towns County out of Georgia playing a lot of SC teams this year. Just go ahead and incorporate them into our league next year. Conway Christian at Jefferson Davis. Dillon Christian at Bethesda. Williamsburg at Lee Academy. King Academy at Richard Wynn. Wilson Hall at Trinity Collegiate. Kings at Holly Hill. Northside Christian at Orangeburg Prep. Northside Christian's playing really good football. They're 5-1. Had a nice win last week. Been very impressive so far. OP with Coach Shelley trying to make a run in the playoffs, trying to get right for that stretch run here. Camden Military at Florence Christian. Christian Academy at St. John's. Wardlaw at Newberry. Our friend Colt Bailey down there for Wardlaw playing good football. Augusta Christian at Hammond. At Lawrence at Oakbrook Prep. We mentioned our CONA game of the week. Porter-Gaud at Northwood. Calhoun at Carolina. Thomas Sumter at Greenwood Christian. Buford Academy at Faith Christian. Colleton Prep at Patrick Henry. Pinewood at Coastal Homeschool. Dorchester at Clarendon Hall. We talked about that earlier with, I think, John and somebody else asked about that one. Dorchester playing really good. Noah asked about it. Yeah, great win for Dorchester last week over Lee Academy. A dominant win there behind Wetzel and Quattlebaum and those guys. I think they win big again over Clarendon Hall. This Clarendon Hall team is not super good this year. I think Dorchester rolls in that one. And that is all of our SCISA slate. Jerel, do you want to go back to Friends of the Program right quick? I realized why we did that now. I forgot earlier. So, yes, Friends of the Program. Then we'll get into our pick'em and our polls. Stay tuned for that. Mitchell says, look at the outcome of Jeff Davis's Cathedral last week. Yeah, Cathedral was undefeated going into that game. I think we all, at least I know I picked Jefferson. I think they're a little bit better football team than Cathedral. Cathedral just hadn't played some of those top-level guys yet. I think JDA, Colson, Lodeholt, they're a great football team. Certainly one of these state title contenders and 8-man there. I like JDA a lot. That was a great win for them this past Friday.
Preferred Home Services. How can we make you smile today? Preferred Home Services. For electrical or plumbing, cooling too. Go, 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 Preferred.
Set your kids up with a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Just like learning the rules of football, understanding money management is crucial. Our Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids the basics of saving, budgeting, and smart spending. Give your young MVPs the skills they need to move the chains on their financial futures. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
Let's look now at our pick'em, brought to you by Hannah Engineering, great partners of the program. Once again, guys, we put these out on our social media and our website as well. We do 11 games each week. Feel free to hop in there. It's a lot of fun to do. Last week in week 6, we had a tie for first with Alex B and JL with a 10 spot there. Lots of 9s with Slick, Gary B, Ryan F, Ryan W, and a bunch of 8s with Ben, Jonathan, Big Pop, Charlie, Nick, David, Flash, Richard, Brett, and Tank. I had a 9 spot. John Jerel was 7. A tough week, but a fun week for sure. It was glad to have a lot of action. 2 weeks ago we had to scrap it because all these games getting canceled. So glad we got to have a pick'em contest last week. But now our overall leaders, Jerel, we got Charlie L with 44. Second place, Ben B at 42. We got Dale, Isaiah, and Jay at 41. Slick, Ryan W, Brett, Big Pop, Kane, Jeffrey, and Jeff T all at 40. John leading us with 43. I have 38, and Jerel 36. And guys, we have now dropped the lowest week. So what we do is if whatever your lowest score was throughout the season, we will drop that. So we'll keep up with that throughout the way there. And John does a great job in charge of that. So certainly a lot of fun, guys. It gives you a reason to follow games outside of just your team or your area. So certainly join our pick'em, brought to you by Hannah Engineering. We post it, like I said, on social media and on our website each and every week. Be a part of that. We got a prize at the end of the season for the winner. We'll do a separate playoff pick'em as well once we get to that point in the year. But now we're going to show our polls here. Jerel and John, do y'all want to go big to small or small to big? Before we put them up there, Jerel, don't do it quite yet. As we tell you guys, we didn't like a lot of the other polls that come out. We want to do our own. So we have done our own. Started a couple of years ago now. We do a top 5. It's a lot of fun. We do it. It's certainly some volatility in there. But let's look at this week's polls, Jerel, and we'll kind of go through what us 3 shook out. In 5A, Division 1, we got Dutch Fork, the unanimous number 1 there, followed by Somerville, Sumter, JL Mann, and Boiling Springs. Also receiving votes is Spartanburg. And in Division 2, Northwestern with 2 first-place votes, Gaffney with 1, and then Irmo at 3rd, Hillcrest 4th, Greenwood 5th. Berkeley also receiving votes. So we'll see a top 5 matchup with Hillcrest and JL Mann getting after it on Friday. That'll be a lot of fun there. The big mover there in 5A, guys, is that Sumter program. They took a step up. They passed JL Mann, I believe it was, with that big win over West Florence last week. John, Drew, any thoughts on the 5A polls?
Just a lot of really, really good teams. And I think I said this last week too. I wish it wasn't split into 2 divisions. I would love to see some of these top teams, or heck, all top 5 play each other. We get to see one of those matchups this week. But yeah, I'd love to see Irmo, Gaffney, Northwestern getting to mix it up with Dutch Fork, Somerville, and Sumter. I think that would be great. But hey, that's okay. We're going to get good football regardless.
I think the funny thing is Sumter, looking back at it, we bumped Sumter up. They had that huge win on Thursday against West Florence, but we swapped them in JL Mann. I think if JL Mann comes out and they have a big-time game against Hillcrest, we might flip it right back next week. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun to see that one.
Perfect. Looking down now at 4A and 3A, we got Westside at number 1. South Point, a big mover, up to number 2. Daniel at 3. A tie for 4th, May River and South Florence. Also receiving votes is North Augusta. In 3A, BHP at 1. Marlboro County continues to climb. Loris is in that 3 spot now. Woodruff at 4. Mountain View at 5. Receiving votes is Oceanside Collegiate. 4 is an interesting one to me here. I feel like May River, we said it on earlier in our CONA game of the week, we still don't know a ton about them. How good are they? I don't know. We'll see this week. But hey, if they lose Bishop England, maybe the Bishops have to be up there next week. I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out there. On the 3A side, a little more settled at the top, I think. We know that BHP, Marlboro County are really good. That Loris win was super nice there for them. I think the sleeper team, and I'll say it, I'm the one that had them in there, was Oceanside Collegiate. I think they're a sneaky team. Record's not the best right now because of that non-region they play. I think they're a very good football team there in 3A. John Jerel, thoughts on 4A and 3A?
I tell you what, with what South Point did last week, I'm not so sure it's a close case on 4A on who might win 4A. Now, let's see if South Point can keep doing that, right? But that really gets me excited about 4A because up till now I thought, well, let's just see how bad Westside beats everybody.
Yeah, no, I think Dion and the gang might be coming to John Epps' house this weekend. Talking about Westside sliding down. I told you guys,
why not go to South Point and check them out?
I'm not moving Westside until they lose a game. I don't know what the streak is up to now because we haven't played in a few weeks, but they haven't lost in a long time. So, Westside's fantastic, but certainly by stock in South Point. South Florence is another one that continues to climb. And then, of course, Marlboro County. just counting down the weeks for that big time matchup with them and Loris. It's going to be a lot of fun there.
And I'll say this, it's really tough. It was tough this week for me to do the polls, and I'm probably saying for you guys, like, you know, a large part of the state just has not played in 2 weeks. Like, what do you do with them? Like, I mean, you know, you look at, 5A, obviously JL Mann, they slide down, haven't played in 2 weeks. You got 4A, Daniel slides down, they haven't played 2 weeks. Like, I didn't know how to judge some of that, because I mean, if we're out there and we're seeing JL Mann still dominating teams, do we make that move? I don't know. Same thing with Daniel. So glad to get everybody back out there this week, and we may see some change again heading into week 8 next week. But looking down at 2A and 1A, we got Batesburg-Leesville still gets that 1 spot in 2A. Clinton gets the first place in second. Barnwell third, Fairfield Central fourth, and a tie for fifth, Hampton County and Saluda. Fairfield Central has been climbing the ranks there in 2A. In 1A, Abbeville, Blackfield, Hilda, Bamberg-Gerhardt, Louisville, and Lakeview. Also receiving votes is Dixie. I'll start in 1A in this one, guys. That Lakeview win over HP last week really impressed me. I've been high on the Raiders all year, and Lakeview, dismantled them pretty well in a big-time matchup last week. So they certainly slid into my poll last week. I think they're a good football team, a good contender in 1A. It's hard to say that Lakeview has been slept on after their tradition, their history, but I feel like we have been a little bit, but I think the Wild Gators are for real as well. And then in 2A was not a lot of change there, really. You know, we haven't seen much except for Fairfield Central play some good football lately. I'm interested to see, Strom Thurman getting back out on the field, see how they do, get Saluda back out there as well. A couple teams that haven't played in a few weeks for sure.
Yeah. Then like you said, Lakeview, that's a team that's it's crazy to think of. They've been slept on a little bit. Dixie, I mean, it's hard to try to figure out because of the level of competition. It's not their fault. It's kind of proximity, like who they get to play. They don't get the stiffest of competition up here. So that's going to be, interesting to keep up with this year. Then Louisville, Kevin, we saw them this week, only a half, but they did not put out their best performance. So I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to do going forward down the stretch.
Yeah, certainly wasn't their best game on Friday at C.A. Johnson. John, any thoughts from you on 2A or 1A?
Just looking at these polls, I know a lot of the talk from time to time is how good the upstate is, across the board in football, But now, and it's not just now, but right now, the PD region is really coming alive. You look at how good, that huge win for Loris over Dillon. Dillon's still a really good team. Resurgence of Marlboro County. Talk about Lakeview being good as well. It's really exciting to see that those PD programs really step up. And hey, I think I know Mullins lost, but throw Mullins in there too for having such a good start to their season as well, considering how they've been last couple of years. It's exciting to see.
For sure. Chris says take Gaffney out. I don't want to be in it. Chris, it's going to be hard to take them out, man. They are too good, and I think you know it too. Nathan says Daniel drops as they haven't played, only losses to Man. Yeah, and that's what I said, Nathan. It's tough to figure out what to do with those teams that haven't played because it's not really their fault. I think Daniel, if they continue to win, they will certainly be right there, probably back up there soon. Kurt and Tony says, good stuff for the Warhorses. Barnwell, I've been super impressed with the way they bounced back from that tough loss to South Aiken a couple weeks ago. That was a game that could have really lingered. The way they lost that one could have been a super, super tough one to bounce back from. But they have played good football, a couple nice wins since that loss. I think Coach Smith's bunch is ready to roll for the region play here. I think I think they're the favorite in the region. They've got to be right now the way they're playing. Barnwell Hampton County will be a fantastic matchup for the region title, I feel like. But I like what the Warhorses are doing right now. Any other comments from the chat, Jerel, on the polls?
Let's wrap this thing up, guys. We've got teams and players of the week.
Yes, our teams of the week, we had South Point, Dreer, and Loris, brought to you by Preferred Home Services. Our players of the week, brought to you by the Georgia Agency, Tyrell Foxworth at Lakeview, Trey Wilson at Central, and Trey Howard at Ridgeview. Once again, guys, if you see a great stat line, send it to us on social media or an email, whatever. Love to give you guys a shout-out. We put out our blog today with all the nominees. So we will certainly, if you send it to us, we're going to read it on the show, on the recap show, and we'll put it out in the blog, and then we'll obviously have our 3 winners to get the post about them as well. So definitely send us all the Player of the Week nominations, but shout out to those guys, brought to you by the Georgia Agency. I think we didn't talk about, guys, what was voted on today by the high school league. If you guys missed it, the executive committee decided to basically extend the regular season by 1 week and move the playoffs back a week. So you'll still keep the 5 rounds of playoffs. I know that was one of the proposals was to just cut a week of playoffs out. A lot of guys did not want that. That got denied there. Some folks wanted to move it back 2 weeks. That was a shot down as well. So we got kind of a compromise there where 1 week moved back. 5 rounds of playoffs. So the state titles will now be the week of, I think, the 12th to 14th at South Carolina State. We're also going to move back the North-South game now. We play the same day as the Shrine Bowl. Staggered start times, I believe, a little bit, but still same day now. So, I mean, I'll say it there wasn't a perfect answer for this. There really wasn't. You know, I know Jerel and I talked about on the recap show, what would you do? And there's not a great answer. I don't mind the 1 week change. Like, that's not bad. I know that a lot of, schools miss 2 games, and I know that regions are trying to figure out how you can make up 2 games in a week and kind of stagger it that way. Or do you just rework the whole schedule? We'll see. But, getting 1 game back instead of 2 is frustrating, but it's certainly better than 0, I would say, John.
Yeah, I know we give the high school league a hard time from, a decent bit on things, but I think this is a good solution. I think this is probably the happy medium between all options. So I'm glad they were able to come to the decision today to do that. And it's a little bit of, not all or nothing. We get 1 game, and, pushing the playoffs out 1 week, I think that's okay. And as far as the North-South game and the Shrine Bowl go, I don't know if anyone – I know kids have to decide one or the other typically anyways, but nobody's going to try to play in both of those games. So, that being on the same day, I think it's just fine.
And one thing, too, that I like the way they did about it, too, is they did not say, hey, we're going to pause the season. Like, they're letting teams that can play in the other areas that have already played the games continue to play, but they're leading up to the regions where if the regions want to reschedule some of those games for that extra week so you don't have a bye week, they're letting them do that, which I've seen a couple guys. I think I can't remember what region it was. I've already seen one region, adjust that and make that happen where they're going to make a bye week a couple weeks before so you don't have one going into the playoffs. So that is up to a region-by-region basis there to kind of adjust the schedule as you want. So, Jerel, what do you think about it? I know we talked about it on Sunday and just the way it shook out. I can't say I'm surprised. I thought this was probably where it was going to head, of course. And, I mean, I don't mind it because I don't think there's not a perfect solution. There's just not.
Yeah, I think it's acceptable. I mean, there really isn't nothing you can do. I mean, other than, I don't know, upon further review, like maybe cutting that first week of playoffs off. But again, that's hard because then you're taking away another week of football for some kids that, already.
And I will say this, that's where I was kind of leaning to, because I've always said too many teams are making it in general right now.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, if you do that, you're cutting out literally half the teams that make it. I mean, that's a heck of a cut at this point in the season too. Like, it's like before the season, you're like, hey, we're going to cut it down to 4 rounds. Like, okay, you have some, okay. But when you do it now this late, that's really tough for a lot of those schools or a lot of those programs. And a lot of coaches were opposed to that. So that kind of surprised me. But
you got to think too, the All-Star games had to come into account with this too. I mean, because once you're pushing into Christmas and all the holidays and stuff like that too, so it's kind of weird because you have early signing periods with colleges, and it's a mess. So it was a difficult situation. I think it's acceptable, and again, like we've said repeatedly, I don't think there was a correct solution. It was just trying to figure out the easiest, most convenient way to do this.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised if a lot of these regions that did miss 2 games figure out a way to get those in. Play like I was trying to do the math in my head earlier. I think you may have to play like a Wednesday,
sure,
a Monday, and a Friday. So I think that would be the way to get in 3 in a 2-week period. So I think that's kind of how you'd have to do it. I think you play maybe like this Friday, next Wednesday, the following Monday, that following Friday. I think that will give you enough rest between games. So you may see that happen in some of these upstate and some of these Midlands and CSRA regions for sure. But I do love that they left it up to each region to decide if you want to cut out a game, cut out a game. If you want to move a game back, whatever. So we'll see. I know that we had seen last week that the region, was it 6-4A, Jerel and John, that had decided they were going to revamp the schedule. I think it was 4-4A. Where they're going to say, basically you drop a region game, and then that last week they're going to play the 1 and 2 teams, 3 and 4 teams for seeding purposes only. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but I like that idea as well. You could see a really good matchup again on the back end that you weren't expecting there that last week for sure.
And I know the region you were mentioning earlier, I think it's that Dutch Fork, Irmo region. I think that they did some shuffling in that one. You know, that's the one you were talking about to accommodate the schedule changes.
Yes. But as always, guys, feel free to chime in with your thoughts on our social media pages. I would love to hear from you guys. If you tune in for the first time, we really appreciate that. Follow us here on Facebook and YouTube. Follow us on X as well, Instagram, TikTok, all that. Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. Our weekly preview show goes live about 7:15 on Facebook and YouTube each week. We do a recap show on Sundays on the podcast platforms. We do coach interviews, player interviews, food reviews, teams of the week, pick 'em, all kinds of great stuff across our social platforms all week, all season, all year round. So definitely check us out on all of those. I know Jerel likes to mention that YouTube, so definitely follow the YouTube. We're trying to get those numbers up too, so definitely do that. Get your Movin The Chains merch. Got some great hats, some Richardson hats, a black kind of back, kind of a grayish back, some other ones as well. Those are all posted on our Facebook and social media pages there. We've got toboggans, a gray and a black one, really good stuff for that. We've got some new T-shirts in, lots of good colors. We've got a black color, a gray color, a navy blue, and a pink as well. Support the boys. Get your stuff. If you guys look on our pages, everything we have price-wise includes shipping and taxes, so don't worry about some kind of crazy charge. You can email us at mtcgear.sc.com. You could also DM us if you want to have it just order it that way. That's fine too. We got the gray sweatshirt, the kind of the ash white sweatshirt as well. It's going to be cool here soon. I think we saw some 60-degree temps coming up this Friday, so I'm cold-natured. I may need a sweatshirt on Friday, guys. So definitely get yours now to prepare for this colder weather. But any final thoughts from you, John, or from you, Jerel, here on this Week 7 high school football preview show?
Yeah, I'm just glad we're getting back to a full slate this week.
Jerel, thoughts, comments, anything, objections?
No, same thing. I'm just happy that everybody's getting to play this week. So, and then also, I mean, we've talked about weather. Just thinking about our friends in Florida because that storm looks crazy. So, hopefully everybody's able to evacuate those regions. But excited to see that we're going to get a full slate this week in South Carolina.
Yeah, certainly excited for that. So, once again, Movin The Chains is always brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. For Jerel, Hendricks, and John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. This has been our Week 7 South Carolina High School Football preview show, and we will see you guys soon.
Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin The Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit movinchains.com today.